We had 12 intro calls with ideal prospective clients within 4 days. So I wanted to share these things with you today. How we were able to get so many people requesting an intro call, and then share the mistakes that advisors make during intro calls, and then the 6 things that we must do in each one of those intro calls. Now, for some context, these were intro calls with prospective clients that we had never met. And they went to our website, they clicked on the Get Started button and then filled out the questionnaire. And if they're a good fit, then they got sent to our calendar link to book a time. So in order to do this, we had to get one of 3 things done correctly, right? That's the attract thing. Really, here's the 3 things that you are obvious to being a financial advisor. We need to be able to attract, convert, and then deliver what we promised. And the first step to that is attract, and that's what this video is about today. So we've been working on this attract portion of those 3 steps really the last 4 years, and we found something that works really well. We get about 40 to 60 people per month requesting intro calls. And because we have existing clients, we decided to designate just 1 week a month for new business, for prospective client calls. So 1 week per month is intro calls with our qualified prospects. And by the way, if you're wondering how we get 60 people every month reaching out for an intro call, we don't use paid advertising, and we're not doing seminars or doing cold outreach. What we did was we stopped spending time on looking for prospective clients, and instead we made ourselves more findable for our ideal clients, actually looking for help. But that strategy isn't what this video is about. And I do share exactly how we did that in the mini workshop that is, you can find the link below, how to attract clients without prospecting if you're interested. But this video is about the discoveries that we made during the intro calls. And because we have so many intro calls with clients, we get to figure out what works and then what doesn't work. A problem that we had just 3 years ago was that we were having maybe 1 to 2 intro calls per month, and they were mainly from referrals. And it wasn't that consistent, and we didn't really get much practice on what works during these sorts of calls. And there was really no consistent framework that we'd follow. But now, with so many coming in each month, we've really mastered the framework to give us the highest chances of connecting and then making it a 10 out of 10 meeting. And over the years, after each meeting, we'd really measure what worked and what didn't, and then we made that intro call 1% better each time until we arrived at what it is today. So I want to share that intro call framework with you now. And by the way, I'm Dave, and Tim and I, we run Streamline Financial. That's our advisory firm, and this channel is here to give you the strategy and tactics to help you grow your business as well. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future tips for financial advisors. So one of the things, really the most valuable things that we learned in doing all these intro calls is that it doesn't take long to build rapport and trust in the first meeting. I spoke with an advisor recently, and he was sharing how his process could take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to get through with a potential new client. But as we've continued to modify our meeting process, we realized that the sooner we can start helping new clients and improve their financial life, the better it is for them. And there's really no reason that it should take longer than a month to make a decision. Now, the process is an intro call, and then 2 weeks later, we have the plan delivery. And after that delivery meeting, half the people either agree to becoming a client, and then half of them may decide a week later they need one more meeting, and we call it the logistics meeting. So the entire process is about a month for high net worth prospects, and those are people with 2 million or more. Really, 2 to 10 million is kind of where our main client is coming in, and that's enough time to make a decision on who to work with. And we were able to really take this multi-page script that we have and we use for each one of these meetings and really whittle it down to get to just 1 page to make sure we hit these points, which I'll go over now. So let's get into the simple framework that we follow, and then I'll share the mistakes that we used to make so that you can avoid those. So this framework, zoomed out, it looks like this. Running through them very quickly, we've got the regular open, and then we've got a key connection question that we ask almost all of the time. Next is the learning and kind of the pre-qualifying. It's the financial discussion, and it's getting some of the details around their financial life and making sure they're a good fit. And if they're not, then we know from there that then this is a goal. The goal is to give them free advice and then point them in the right direction to advisors that we know who could or maybe could help. After that, if they do pre-qualify, then we talk about our fee and we talk about what we do and the next offer, which is not a work together offer. It's really a 1-page plan offer. And then the most important part of this meeting is the end, which I'll get to in just a minute. But within each one of these, there are specific questions that we ask. We ask them at strategic times to optimize the results of this meeting. And there's specific language that we use as well. There's really this whole science to it. And we've been able to develop this because we've had so many of these intro calls over the last 2 years. We've really got to tweak it and make it 1% better each and every time. But the one section that can really differentiate us and you versus other advisors is this last one here, this value section. There's a right way to do this, and then there's a wrong way as well. I actually did the wrong way not too long ago it was by mistake, and it was just a few months ago. And I'm gonna share that story actually in another video coming up, how we botched this one question. Really, for the past year, it's been going smoothly, but I made one mistake. It's worth knowing. But for this video, I'll share the right way with you. Now, when I talk to other advisors, they often say that they've got difficulty with the values question. And the way that I learned it was to ask it at the beginning, the very first thing that you do in the intro call. Now, the only problem with that is that you don't have any rapport built up. You don't have any trust built up, most likely. And it makes it kind of awkward. At least that's what I found trying this out. I think it was about 5 years ago when we first started to test this. It's kind of like, how much would you open up to a stranger versus a close friend? But now, moving the question to the end, we've already had the whole meeting and we've connected and we found that we could help them, and then we even offered them something. And there's this reciprocity feeling. So the rapport is there. So the end is the best time to ask, in my opinion, because the responses are just so much better from clients. So I'll share that question with you now, and there's actually 2 ways to do this. So I'll share the way that gets better answers, but is harder, and then I'll share the easier way, but you might not get as good of questions or good of answers. So after the first 5 steps that we looked at here, then we say, it's been great getting to know you today. Before we go, can I actually ask you a different kind of question? As we put the plan together, it's really helpful to get to know your perspective around money. So what's important about money to you? And that's the question. That's the one that you've heard from Bill Bacharach or Carl Richards, or a few different people have different versions of this question, but that's the question. And this is the hard version. But what you'll find is usually if they're giving an answer, they'll give an answer and they'll start at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've seen that before, where you've got security and base level needs. And then the top is this idea of self-actualization. But usually they'll start with security and just having enough, wanting to not worry, and they don't want to run out, and just, security. And sometimes they start to work up to freedom. And if you continue this line of questioning and saying, oh, that makes a lot of sense. What's important about security to you? They may start to move up that Maslow's hierarchy and then move to things like others, helping others and family and each other and some form of contribution. So as they're talking, you're writing down as many quotes as you can, the exact quotes, because those are going to be crucial parts of the next meeting, that 1-page plan. Now, if that question seems too hard for you, or if you try it and you don't like doing it, I would try it still. I would try to do it 5 times with 5 different people. But there's a second line of questioning you can use if that's a little bit easier. And sometimes we do this with really hard thinkers or engineers. We'll sometimes just say, and again, it takes some guts to do it, but I highly encourage that you try. And in the next video, I'll hopefully next week or in a couple weeks, I'm going to share the mistake that we made with this line of questioning so that you can school off us and not make the same mistake. Really, we never made that mistake again. So subscribe so that you don't miss that video. But the second way to do this is to say that same thing of, it's been great getting to know you today, really enjoyed it. Before we go, can I actually ask you a non-financial question? And they'll say, 100% of the time, they'll say, sure. And the question is, what would you say is the most important thing in your life right now? And it's different than all the other stuff you talked about, most likely, could be. And they will take a second to think about it, and then they'll answer. And a lot of the times it's each other, if it's a couple. A lot of times it is their kids. A lot of times it might be their church or their community, things like that. But important things will come up as they're talking about what's most important in their life to them. That question might not get as deep as the first one, as you do try to work up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's still really good because the client, one of the best things about it is the client leaves the meeting feeling good. and thinking that that was a little bit different than other advisors that they might be interviewing. A client said at the end of one of our intro calls, he said something like, wow, I feel like you guys know me better than I know myself after we did that line of questioning. And it's important that they feel this way because, you know, that quote from Maya Angelou that is, I think it goes something like, they don't always remember they don't remember what you talked about, but they remember how you made them feel. So that can be key when we want to differentiate ourselves. Now, the next step after this is building out the plan. And we used what we learned in this intro call to make a plan delivery meeting that uncovers your value so well that they have no doubt why working with you is the right decision. So if you're subscribed and you don't want to wait for future videos where I'll talk more about that and the one-page plan and things like that, sign up for the email list. Or check out the website in the description below because I'll be putting, in those emails, I'll be writing about some things and sending out videos that I don't include anywhere else, like here on YouTube or things like that. So look for that email list and then subscribe if you're not, and then I'll see you in the next video. Take care.